Hey, this is Conversations with Andrew Hoffman, and we are here with the infamous Joshua G. We are here
Infamous.
just to,
Okay.
we are here to talk to him about magic, the illusions, and hypnotism, and mysticism, and all that fun stuff in between.
Oh,
S-
love it.
So, Joshua, welcome.
Thank you so much. Hey, it's great being here, Andrew. Thank you for having me.
I just like to start off my interviews with what got you into magic, how do you got started, and what's your inspiration behind it all?
So, how I got started was I was about sixth grade and I saw David Copperfield on TV and he made a woman float with him. And I was like hooked. I was just like, that's what I want to do. That's me. I want to be that. And
How old were you in sixth grade?
Probably like 11 or 12, something
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
usually
Yeah,
when it
yeah,
starts.
yeah, yeah. And then my mom bought me a magic kit for Christmas, and then I went and did all the terrible magic tricks, and then ever since then I just been hooked on it. I'm just like, this is the coolest thing ever. And so that was that. I mean, David Copperfield's been a huge inspiration to me. I really, really like Chris Angel. I'm a huge fan of his. I love his persona. How cool he comes off and stuff like that.
Now, Chris Angel just had a birthday. I believe it
Yes,
was
yes,
today,
yeah.
the 19th.
Yep.
That's
Happy
cool.
birthday, Chris.
Yeah, yeah. Sag. I just had one the 8th.
Oh man, happy belated.
Happy belated.
Yeah.
So how long have you been in LA here?
Oh, I've been in LA about 13 years now. Good number. So, yeah, it's been a blast. It's been a huge ride, you know?
What's
Love
the
it.
what's the craziest thing about LA you can possibly imagine?
I've been to some pretty crazy parties. I don't know if I can say too much, but there's been some pretty crazy things at those parties. So,
Cool,
yeah.
man.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So when you think of the art of magic,
hmm
what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Performance
Okay.
for me. Just that art form of performance because just being able to trick somebody, I don't feel that that is magic. That's just a puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to put it in a performance to actually get out there and entertain and make people feel a different way, make people forget about their problems and that just for like 30 seconds or a minute, just engaged into that magic, that performance. That's what gets it for me every single time.
So let's say illusions and what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of illusions?
Illusions. Well, for me, a big stage, like huge, giant, like making a huge airplane disappear and stuff like that. That's not really what I do, but that's what it comes to mind for me. For me, when I deal with illusions, I'm more like with your mind, tricking your mind into believing different things or seeing different things that you thought you might have seen, but you didn't.
Hmm.
Yes.
Are you're familiar and experienced with hypnosis and
Yes.
therapy?
Yes.
You're a therapist or
Yes, I do
oh,
hypnotherapy as well.
interesting.
Yeah, I have an office in Brentwood.
Excellent.
And yeah, I help people mostly with dealing with getting past their what's holding them back. Like a lot of people have like goals and stuff like that. And so we work through because a lot of it comes down to stuff that happened when they were younger. Uh, Things that may be insignificant when you're younger, but as you get older, it builds and builds and builds, and we need to tackle that stuff. So we get you into a relaxed state, we put you under, and then we just go straight through and figure out exactly what that was, and then install new beliefs so those old ones just completely go away and you can actually move on and move past
Have
what was
you
blocking you.
have you ever come across somebody who weren't able to hypnotize?
Yes. And there are, for those people that aren't able to be hypnotized, it's a lot of it comes down to can you get in a relaxed state? If you're in a place where you can't be super relaxed, like say you're at a job or like something really major happened like in your family and you're stressed out about that, if you can't physically relax and let yourself go, then it's probably not going to work. Now, I've had times where it has failed, but when we've tried it later at a different time when they were in a different headspace, it's worked beautifully. And that's the number one thing is to be able to relax and separate you from yourself and where you're going, uh, and yeah, that's it. But it does happen, and when it does, we just roll with it. we just go next time.
Do you, when you're performing your acts, do you have any magic words or phrases? Chris Angel likes to always say "now."
Yeah. I'm a big fan of snapping my fingers, and that's for my hypnosis. Doing a lot
It
of
really does
shows.
put people in the trance, right?
It really does help. That snapping of the fingers like that. I also like to say go or now. Not so much now, but a lot of go. Because I know a lot of magicians still say stop. Like just tell me to stop. I like to say go. It's more for me. It's more of a positive. I like just say go, and it's gets a better reaction.
I think the one of the best demonstrations of it was in the movie Get Out when
Yeah.
he just like and she had him with that
Yep.
stirring of that thing. That was the
Yep.
creepiest thing I've ever seen.
No, I love it. That was a great movie.
What's one of your favorite magician movies?
That's a good question. I do like The Illusionist.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, just because of the old fashionedness of it, because I like the old building the contraptions with the birds and stuff like that. And I also really did dig Now You See Me.
Now You See
I
Me Too.
Yes, and Now You See Me Too. I dug those movies because a lot of it. I knew a lot of people that worked on those movies as magicians that helped out in the background, like gave them the things, and a lot of the stuff they were doing was actual real magic, and it came across as a believable act that you would see on a Vegas stage, and I thought that was the authenticity of it. I really really liked.
So a lot of people have claimed that a lot of these magicians happen to do a little voodoo or black magic in order to, what's the concept of flying and pulling off the fact that you can actually do things that no other human being can do?
That is a really good insight into that. I think it goes back to the original because magic used to be spelled with a J.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get back into witchcraft and stuff like that, they would perform like magic spells. And I think it just grew out of that as an allied art.
Exactly. That
Yeah.
was my next question. It's practiced by the LA Arts.
Yes, yes. So it grew out of that, and I feel like there are some that still practice, the dark seances, the uh, calling members, people that died, and getting their information, having them talk to them. I still feel like that is a big part of what's going on right now
Are
too.
you more of a fan of David Blaine?
I love David Blaine for a big reason, and it's because he, in my opinion, is the modern day Houdini.
Mm-hmm.
And not in that he's just such a great performer, because he is a really good performer. Like he took magic and he did with magic what a real magician would do. If you were a real magician, you would just do the trick. There wasn't any, he would just turn something into that. But the main thing he did, which Houdini did, is he would travel to city and he would perform a stunt. He would get a large stunt. I can break out of anything. You build it and I'll break out of it. And using that stunt, he would market his magic show. So David Blaine has taken that to the 21st century, where now he can get on NBC, do a giant special, or do like these giant things where he puts himself in a block of ice that goes into his special. And it's such a huge thing, and all these people can now see him, and it's a brilliant marketing strategy for him.
David Blaine has a particular style that no other magician can come up because
Yeah,
it's more emotion and
yeah.
it's just like it's some of the things that he does in his mind. He just puts himself in
Mm-hmm.
another state of mind. I've seen people that literally have put sticks and forks and knives through their entire body.
Yeah.
Like that's there's beyond magician. That's voodoo.
Yeah, I mean, there are some really crazy things that I've seen and I've witnessed. And when he put that thing through his hand, he really put that thing, that wasn't a magic trick. He really did that. And there are ways, and also if you use some hypnosis, you can get rid of some pain, completely take pain out of it. And you can actually do that and stick that through there. Now, I am not that crazy yet, but one day I might be that crazy and try it.
Do you mind if I ask, do you follow a particular religion?
Not really. I mean, I'm more. I grew up Christian,
Okay.
but it's really like I'm pretty atheist. I'm pretty open to anything. I'm not
Okay.
really I don't really follow anything. I don't really go to church that often. Pretty much at all ever since I've been out here. I mean, I just, I'm just open to everything.
Do you tend to brush up on like Jewish mysticism and understanding the dark secrets of that?
Only in some weird YouTube videos. But that you can get really down a deep rabbit hole. I know some of that stuff, but a lot of it is, I tend to stay away from that because I don't want to get into the darker side of it. I like to stay in the happy side, and I know people that have started in the happy side and they start getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and now I see them and they're in some really dark stuff right now, which to them is really cool. They're doing some cool stuff, but for me, it's just like, nah, I'm good right now.
It's one of the things that you need to make sure you don't destroy yourself. If you
Yeah.
if you get too far into it, you screw up, and there's no second chances in life when you screw up that bad.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that you take care of yourself before you go into that. Like, you want to mentally prepare yourself,
Exactly.
because if you're not mentally preparing yourself for that, it can grab a hold of you real quick.
So, how many times have you performed in Vegas, by the way?
I'd say right now about 15 times.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where'd you
So
perform?
a lot of different hotels. It's mostly been like either corporate shows or private parties, and they'll like rent out like a whole banquet, huge thing in one of the hotels, and they'll bring me in, and I'll go in there, perform, do my whole set. So it's always a different one each time, but I love it because they put you up, and it's such a fun. Those are the funnest shows I love to do because you just have such a great audience.
Now you said David Copperfield was your top priority.
Yeah,
Have you got to meet him in person?
I did meet him once in person after one of his shows in
Nice.
Vegas.
Did you get an interesting vibe? Like,
Yeah, he's a very interesting guy. He gave me a very interesting vibe, but I really liked it. I didn't get to talk to him too much. I only got, maybe it was like about 5 minutes because there's so many people after the show that want to see him. But luckily, I at least got to shake his hand, got to tell him how I got in, how I got started, and he was very cool and very gracious. And he gave me that time, which I felt is such a wonderful thing for because he doesn't have to. He could just easily just go back and be done with the show, but who's there, and he was like, yeah, absolutely, that was so cool, man.
now there's some newer magicians, newer generations coming
Yeah.
out. Magic for Humans and the Carbonaro Effect.
Yes.
I've seen a couple of these shows. The Carbonaro Effect. He just likes to mess with you.
Yes.
It's not.
Yes.
Yes, this is my show. You're on my show, and I just fucked you.
Yeah. 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 But but he plays it up as not magic. It's like this is really happening. This is really
I
the
I
thing.
feel like I'm watching an episode of Ashton Kutcher's Punked or
Yeah,
something.
exactly. It's punked with magic. That's what it is, and it's a real nice spin on it. Instead of the same old. It's that nice spin that you get. You know.
It's um it's one of the weirdest things that I can watch. New
Yeah.
new magic is the most fascinating
Yeah.
magic. When you see something you haven't seen, you're just like, "Oh, how did he do that?"
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Some of these people you want to get to know and understand their tactics, and there's some people that actually come out with these videos. This is how I did this, and those
Yeah.
are the coolest things in the world when they show their magic.
And I want to say the coolest thing about being a magician and knowing a bunch of different magicians is that everybody has their own way of doing their tricks. And that's the most fascinating thing, just because e- even though we have basic principles we all follow, everybody has their own way of doing something. So you don't know exactly how somebody does their act. They have different things that they're using and how they come up with it. And that I feel like is the show. Like the show behind the show. Like when I get ready for my show, I feel like that's the show. When you see all that stuff, it's so interesting. But it's something that I can never put out there because that I can't do the show. But that's the thing that I think one day I want to build a show, and after I'm done doing it a bunch of times, I just want to film the show behind the show where you see all of what I'm doing, how I'm preparing, how I'm getting everything
Videographer.
together. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And put it all together as like this is how you, because when you show up on stage, people are just like, oh, that's really cool. you do the whole show. They're like, oh, they're blown away, but they have no idea how much work went into it, what you had to get ready, how many times you checked where everything was at, what's here, what's there. Is that going to work? Is this going to, and how you second guess yourself? You're going over the script. That I feel is the real show.
Are you interested in doing like dangerous stunts?
Oh, I love that you brought that up because I am working on, because I have a tattoo. It is
Oh, wow.
Herman the
I
Great.
know. I was just gonna ask, do you have any
Yes,
tattoos?
yes. So it's Herman the Great.
Tell me a little bit about Herman.
So Alexander Herman, he was a phenomenal magician back in the day. He was one of the top finest magicians in America, and
Where'd he come from?
he was born in America.
Okay.
Yeah. But he traveled all over. But his thing was the bullet catch. He loved the bullet catch, and I don't know if you know it, but it's where you have a loaded weapon. Somebody signs a bullet, they shoot it at you, and you catch it in your mouth and
I've
your
seen
teeth.
it in The Prestige.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Another good movie. That trick has killed about 15 magicians. Unfortunately, it is a very dangerous trick. He did it 7 times in his life. He found a safe way to do it. Unfortunately, he had a heart attack on a train going to Pennsylvania, so he couldn't live long enough because his apprentice, Billy Robinson, actually performed it and did die from it later on after, unfortunately, Herman passed. But I am working on a close-up bullet catch because I'm so fascinated with it. So instead of using a gun, I have a mini cannon about this big, and it shoots out. It's about that big of a
pebble?
steel. It's a steel ball bearing, and it'll shoot out, and I'm gonna try to catch it in my mouth. Yeah, and so that's what I'm working on right now.
Fascinating.
I've only made 2 holes in my wall so far, so don't worry. I had the plaster. I got it all taken care of. No worries. I'll get that deposit back.
Interesting.
But yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now. I'm very fascinated in adding one element of danger, and that's going to be it. So,
Are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed, but I do a lot of stuff with my left-handed. And I feel as a magician, you have to learn how to use both your hands. I'm not ambidextrous.
Ambidextrous.
Yeah, but I do a lot of stuff with my left hand that most people couldn't do because I have to use both hands in tandem. When you do sleights or holding cards or just how you perform, you have to end up using both your hands. You can't just rely on just one hand.
I want to go back to movies for a minute.
Yeah.
My personal favorite is The Great Burt Wonderstone. And
Yeah.
Jim Carrey, nobody seems to realize this, but Jim Carrey plays Chris Angel.
Yeah.
One of my questions to Chris is going to be, did he do a good job playing you?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And Steve Carell
Mhm.
is the main character of the
Yeah.
movie. He plays, obviously, your favorite.
Yeah,
It's just, I love that movie.
it's a really good movie. Yeah, it slipped my mind, but that one I love that movie. It's so great and it's so genuine. And then that's what I like about it too. And it's I feel like Jim did a really good job, especially because it felt because even meeting because I got to meet Chris in
You got to
person
meet
once.
Chris?
Yeah, I got
Nice.
to meet
Oh,
Chris
I'm
once.
so
Yeah,
jealous.
I know. And he was the nicest dude. He was so nice because he has this like the cool, awesome that kind of I don't want to say dickish, but that type of mentality he puts out. And when you met him, he was the nicest guy ever. He would talk to you. He had the time for you. He was present with you, and I loved how he was just so nice to me.
Chris has his World Charity Foundation for
Yep.
his son too.
Yeah,
He's
and
he's a
I
good
love
dude.
that. He's such a good dude too. Yeah.
And I think he's moving from the Luxor to Planet Hollywood now.
I heard that. I'm not 100% sure that that's going to happen, but I have heard that. But yeah, good for him. I mean, I fully support him, and I love that he's still in Vegas. So, you know,
Have you ever met somebody that can get into your mind and read your thoughts?
well, do you have an iPhone?
No, I'm an Android kind of person.
Same thing. Do you use Google? They read your minds. Yeah, I actually, when I did, so I did do the hypnotism, and I trained to be a hypnotist. I trained under Jonathan Royal, who's one of UK's, leading hypnotists, and he could always get in my head, and it freaked me out. He could always hypnotize me no matter what. He could always get in my head, and yeah, to this day, I'm still freaked out when I talk to him because he's like, yeah, 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 just immediately like something will snap, like, oh, yeah, we're doing that. Okay, cool, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, he's a blast. He's a trip.
Do you have any questions for me?
I mean,
No.
I mean, so I know you'd like to do interviews. You do a lot of interview. I've seen some of your stuff. I didn't watch all the your interviews because I wanted to be surprised. I don't I want to go in with a little bit of knowledge, but I love the element of uncertainty. Is your ultimate goal to be top interviewer? Is that what you're going towards?
Professional interviews, ways of understanding the person and connecting with them, unlike any other person can. It's
Oh, I
shock
like that.
value, inspirational thought, profound questions, and excellent chemistry.
Oh,
It's
that
how
sounds
it's how you
awesome.
connect with the person on tape
Hmm.
and getting reactions on tape that you've never seen before.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. Um, yeah, and I love that you brought up connecting because that's one of the things I've been doing this year. I took a connection challenge where every day I would find somebody either new or somebody that I always wanted to meet, and I would try to connect with them. Send them like even over like a Facebook, or just send them a text, or just go and just do some research, send them something, and try to connect with as many people as I could. And this whole year has been amazing just by connecting with those many people, not just in my business, but in my whole life. Like I'm so much happier now, and people that I haven't talked to in years, I just hit them up. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry that I fell out of and I just want to connect with you. Where are you at? What can I do to help you? And I think that is the hugest thing you can do for being a happy, successful person is the connecting. So I'm super psyched you said that.
Cool, man. Do you successfully know or are you aware of how to levitate things?
Depends on what it is.
Okay, so there is a little bit of creativity there.
There is a lot of creativity in levitating things. I've seen at least 20 different ways, maybe even more, of how to levitate certain things. I mean, it really comes down to what your personal preference is and what your ultimate goal is. Like how you want to make it look amazing. Like
It's a mindset thing too, right?
it
Yeah.
is. And a lot of performing is a mindset thing because in your mind, this is the hardest part about magic, and it's one of the secrets that I'm going to give away is that you are convincing yourself in your mind that you are actually doing the stuff that you're saying you're doing. That is the key. If you can, in your mind, the whole entire script in your mind is, I'm going to make a coin disappear, and your coin's in your hand, and you're thinking it's going to disappear, and you're fully concentrating on that, and that coin disappears, it's magic. That's magic. But it's really hard because there's all kinds of other things going on in your head, like how you're actually going to do it, what you need to do, like all this stuff. But you need to block all that out and pretend that you're a real magician and you can do real magic, and that will make you. It'll take you to the next level.
Let's talk about mental projection and putting things out there and making
Yes.
them appear.
Yes.
What's the first thing that comes to mind with mental projection?
Mental projection. The first thing that comes to mind is, well, I mean, I always try to project positivity because that's what I want in my life. I
Mm.
used to not be like this. I used to actually be a very unhappy person until I realized that what I was projecting was unhappiness. I was not happy with myself, so I project onto others. I'd also project stuff that I couldn't even control, like, stuff, government stuff outside my whole realm of what I could control, like international things. It would always affect my day. And I was always projecting it, oh, it's horrible, everything's terrible, everything's bad. And by saying that and going through that and really feeling that is how I was a miserable person. And once I learned that and snapped out of it, I was like, I cannot control this stuff. What can I control today? I can be a happy person. I can go out there and I can look at the world in a different way, and I can say, you know what? But you know what? I still have my family. I still have my friends. You know, I have enough money that I'm happy, and I get to do what I want for a living. How could it get any better than this? And that has changed, and that has really made me a happier person, and I feel like taking me to the next level.
Are you vegan or vegetarian?
No, no,
Okay.
no.
My girlfriend is, but
Yeah, I love meat.
that's
Sorry,
good. That's good.
but
Some
yeah,
some people are. It's an interesting aspect, and
it,
it's a
it
different way
is.
of living.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm open to everything. I just can't stop eating meat. So that's
That's
if I
understandable.
could, I would definitely try it. But yeah,
Um, do you like to talk politics?
yes and no. And the reason why is because I focus so much of my time on my act and magic and all that stuff that
You simply don't have time for it.
I don't have time to follow and know what other people are talking about. And at the same time, it's like, you're a magician. Why do I care what you think about politics? It's also that too. It's like there are some things I think about, but I don't spend enough time to do enough research to actually go out there and put myself, put my opinions out there. And I feel like if I was to take that my time and do that, I would. But right now, there's so many things going on. We're so polarized that I haven't done enough research for me to feel comfortable going out there and wanting to say something, because you say one thing and you're probably wrong 9 times out of 10.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Is magic your final thing? Do you plan on doing anything else? Experimenting, exploring, venturing
I
out?
see life as a journey.
Hmm.
Right now, I love magic. And that magic, if that was my end goal of my journey, I would be super happy. There are a couple things. I would love to get into some more motivational speaking, but I want to mix magic into that too. And also some hypnosis as well. Um, that I feel like is where I want to go. I want to kind of elevate how magic is, how it's gonna go, because magic keeps changing over and over again. Even though we've been doing the same tricks since 1800s. I mean, there are books in the 1800s that have tricks that I just saw on TV last night. They're there. Um, and so what I want to do is, but the performance has changed. David Blaine changed it.
Hmm.
Chris Angel changed it. There's now coming to, and now we have these Netflix specials, and these guys are changing it again. They're doing it different. It's raw. It's just right up in your face. Like there's nothing hidden there. It's single camera. It's really cool looking. And so it's like, what is going to be the next thing? And that's what I constantly think about. It's like I have Mac now, and I love it. But what is going to be the next thing in 5 years? What's going to be the next thing in 10 years? And that's what I'm really interested in. And
You always got to be one step ahead of the game.
you always got to try to reinvent yourself, and that's what I constantly think about when I first wake up in the morning. It's like, what is it going to be in 5? What can I add to this to be, because I don't want to be the next David Blaine. I don't want to be the next Chris Angel or the next David Copperfield, because those are already people.
Hmm.
I want to be, because David Copperfield, I mean, is David Copperfield. David Blaine is David Blaine. Chris Angel is Chris Angel. I want to be Joshua G. I want people to be like, hey, that's guy. And so, but it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of effort to figure out what is going to be that next thing that sets me apart from everybody else.
Originality.
Yes, very big.
Originality.
Yeah, and then a lot of my act is completely original. Um, and that's what I like about it. I write the whole thing. My girlfriend helps me with it. She's a writer, so she'll sit down. We'll go back and forth. We'll rewrite the script like 10, 15 times, and then after we do some audience feedback, we'll rewrite it again and just try to keep making it and try to keep bringing out what I want. And that's an original, just me. I want to bring out me in the performance, not just the tricks. I want people to like me. The tricks are they're fun, but at the end of the day, if they like me, I succeeded. And that's how I feel. And how can I now incorporate that into what's next? What's going to be the next thing? And so I'm constantly trying to research and figure out what is going to be that next thing that's going to just take it over the edge. Like, is it going to? Because I see a lot of stuff being done computer like apps, and everything is on the iPhone. I mean, it's the most magical device. The iPhone, the whatever phone you have, it doesn't matter. It's the most magical thing possible. I mean, think back 50 years. If you could have a thing in your pocket that you could just look at and have any piece of information you wanted to at your fingertips, how amazing would you be? You can find anything you want in 30 seconds. Anything. You can learn anything you want. And so it's like, if people know that now, well, how does magic even impress them? Like, okay, you can read somebody's mind. I'm thinking of one of my friends. It's like, oh, I could easily just look on your Facebook and find your friend. So it's going to be harder and harder to escape that electronic AI-driven world. So
Magic and technology of the future.
that's what I'm thinking at, and how to present it so it doesn't come off as just all electronic, but in a way that actually elevates both.
Would you be able to come up with an interesting trick that has to do with virtual reality and residual self-image? It's the mental projection of yourself that you see yourself. It's one of the craziest thoughts I can possibly think of.
Yeah, and that's something I've actually thought about. And I actually have thought about that because I do like VR. I do like VR a lot. And I was trying to think of how I could incorporate that in my act. But right now, I don't think the technology for VR is there yet. But once it does, very soon, because every year we get amazing updates. Once it's to the point where we can get it so that everybody can use it, you can just like the phone. Once VR is just like a phone, there's some really crazy ideas I have.
I'd love to hear them sometime.
I know. I want to keep them under wraps though, just in case somebody else sees them and takes them from me.
Right.
But yeah, that I constantly am thinking about how I can take it to the next level, and that's one thing. VR I think is going to be really cool in the next couple of years.
Okay. I think that's all I have for you, Joshua, my man.
Dude, my pleasure. Thank you so much, Andrew.
Joshua G, everybody.